Hey everyone, finished watching the next SPD episode, Confronted, the first regular episode of Season 1. The Rangers are after a pair of car thieves. They catch them, but they almost get away because of Jack's misunderstanding that he's the leader. At SPD headquarters, Cruger briefs the Rangers on their current situation. A Squad is being sent off-world, so B Squad is now in charge of watching Earth. Jack oversleeps and make it just in time to get yelled at by Cruger. Jack complains to Boom, and Boom responds that being the Red Ranger is a great privilege. When you tell the other Rangers to do something, they'll do it. Sid, meanwhile, is getting used to having to share a room with Z. They get into a little argument, and then Jack comes in and orders them to clean the room. He quotes handbook rules at them and leaves. Sid and Z bond over simultaneously calling him a jerk. Up on Gruum's spaceship, we're introduced to Mora, a little girl. She's unhappy with the decision to invade Earth. Gruum acts like a stern guardian and tells her not to question him. Back on Earth, Cruger talks to Jack about his recent behavior. Jack sent the rest of B Squad on a run while he took some me time. They're interrupted by a cadet bringing Jack his freshly washed clothes and then another bringing him food. Back to Gruum's ship, Mora is talking to her doll, Cindy Sunshine. Suddenly, the creature from last episode drops in from the ceiling. He's Broodwing, an arms dealer working with Gruum. Gruum orders Mora to leave, and she stomps Broodwing's foot on her way out. Back at SPD, Jack sits and relaxes while the other Rangers return from training. His new position of power has caused him to lose his sense of empathy. He bosses his teammates around, but takes no responsibility for himself. Skye confronts him and tells him that while he's wearing red, he's not a leader. Up on Gruum's ship, Mora reveals her special ability. She can bring drawings to life as monsters loyal to Gruum. Broodwing sells him some extra equipment. Back at SPD, Cruger tells the Rangers they're going to be piloting Zords. First, though, he asks if the team has confidence in Jack as their leader. Jack is taken aback when they reply that, no, they don't trust him. Cruger strips Jack of his Ranger status. Just then, Gruum's new monster attacks the city with a tank. The Rangers, minus Jack, take their Zords out to stop the monster. From SPD headquarters, Jack watches. Cruger tells him that a true leader leads by example. Jack realizes and admits that he was taking advantage of his position and not being the leader he needed to be. Cruger returns his morpher and Jack joins the others with his own Zord. Jack coordinates the Zords, but it's not enough. Cruger tells them to combine their Zords. They form the Delta Squad Megazord, and with it they defeat the monster's tank. Jack leads an attack against the monster. The others now trust him. He applies the Morpher's Judgment mode to the monster and finds it guilty. They trap the monster in a containment card. The Rangers stick up for Jack to Cruger later, and Skye watches as Jack goes through the training he ordered them to do earlier, but by himself. This is an impressive first regular episode. Jack is inexperienced, as expected from someone recruited quite literally off the street. This leads to him making mistakes on the field. A bit stranger is how quickly power goes to his head. He was a good Samaritan, willing to give a stranger the coat off his back, literally. It's a bit hard to believe he has no concept of empathy all of a sudden. The story is handled well enough, though. I don't know, maybe he just considers his new position above training or something, or he thinks he's supposed to be bossing people around. Mora makes her debut. I like her. She's a unique type of character. Power Rangers has rarely done, like, child villain characters. I think the last was Prince Sprocket. She acts like a typical little girl. She plays with a doll and sticks her tongue out when she's frustrated, and even stomps on Broodwing's foot. Her powers are interesting. How did she get them? I also wonder how she ended up with Gruum. How does she know him? How is she aware of Earth? Has she been there before? Is she human? And the way Gruum treats her, it makes me wonder, was she, like, dumped on him? Is he taking care of her for some bigger bad guy? I already know where the season is going, so I know, no. But I'm treating this as if it's the first time I'm seeing it, so speculation. Broodwing also gets a proper debut here, and I like Broodwing. He's not a typical Power Rangers villain. He's just out for himself. He's not necessarily an ally of anyone. Kind of similar to Deviat in a way. Plot of this episode is similar to the Lightspeed Rescue episode Trial by Fire. Carter learns an important lesson in leadership. Unlike Jack, Carter learns to look before he acts, and that being a good leader sometimes means listening to others. An interesting parallel between these two stories is that both Jack and Carter make mistakes that feel a touch out of character. Jack was a caring person, and his sudden lack of empathy is jarring. Carter was a trained fireman. Before joining Lightspeed, he was supposedly recruited for being the best, but his mistakes are relatively rookie ones. Both episodes also feature a mentor helping the Red Ranger learn something. I prefer Captain Mitchell's, in a way. By not telling Carter his mistake, it allows him to figure things out for himself. Cruger pushes Jack towards his realization and then just kind of tells him. It still works. Ironically, I think the plots switched around would work better. Carter suddenly having more power that goes to his head, and Jack having to learn to be mindful of his surroundings. I think these would make a lot more sense for both characters, because, like I said, Carter's a trained fireman. He should already know, like, fireman training. And Jack, he was a good Samaritan. He was a Robin Hood. It's so weird he wouldn't take other people's feelings into account when that was who he was established as. Both episodes also happen to be the third episodes in their seasons. Huh. Weird. A decent start to the season with a good focus for Jack. There's not a whole lot to dig too deep into. There's a lot of new characters introduced, but they don't really stick around or present much interesting about themselves that I want to talk about. It is kind of interesting in SPD. I like Broodwing, I like Mora. I don't really care for Gruum. Gruum is still just... yeah, I don't know. Something about Gruum just does not appeal to me. Like, at best, he works well off of some of the other villains, but that's about it. And also, like, already knowing where the season ends up, it's kind of hard to build up any enthusiasm for the character, so, I guess that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
Go to your room, Mora.
But this is my room.
Then go to my room!
But you told me never to go to yours.